Hi there guys, welcome back. So we have part 2, which is uncertainty. So let's just start. Okay, so uncertainty. So like with the first one, we have that need for stability and comfort and safety. We can have too much of that. We can get complacent. We can start feeling bored. We can have that feeling like Groundhog Day. We need stimulus. We need something change. We need the world or something. We need something to happen to us that we're not expecting. In other words, we need some sort of surprise. It just totally just makes us feel like we are alive to some degree. Now, how do we do that? We can do that using alcohol, can't we? We can do that using drugs. These are all stimulating. A distinction that I didn't mention on the first one, and that is that we can have a vehicle or a substance or an action or a behavior that meets more than just one need. So you probably recognize that some of these are going to be repeated from the first one. So alcohol, I'm not sure if alcohol was in the first slide or not, but it meets our needs for certainty, and it also simultaneously meets for our needs for uncertainty. So drinking alcohol can make us feel sometimes in control, can't it? Or it can make us feel comfortable, but at the same time it can give us a sense of stimulus as well, is that it can change the way that we feel. Even if it just changes the biochemistry within us, that's enough. The fact that drinking alcohol can give us a sense of comfort and control, it can also at the same time give us a sense of uncertainty, excitement, stimulation, or change. Same thing goes with drugs and food and smoking and drama. They all meet the same needs, certainty, and simultaneously it will meet our needs for uncertainty. You're starting to see a pattern here, right? So remember, the way that we apply this is the truth will set you free, guys. So make sure you got your sheet of paper and you are acknowledging and maybe even creating and writing down vehicles, things that you do, behaviors, actions, things you say, maybe sometimes even just things that we sometimes think can meet our needs. Okay, so which ones apply to you? Just write them down as we go through this. So creating drama and new relationships, positive one. Getting out of an old one and into a new one could potentially be a positive vehicle. Alcohol, we know that really it's like not one of the most positive ways of meeting our needs for certainty and uncertainty. It's okay in moderation. I certainly have a drink now and again, but it doesn't have, it doesn't have any control over me. I have control over it, if that makes sense. So the reasons why I would drink alcohol wouldn't necessarily be for certainty. It would probably be maybe just a change in my state now and again, which is fine. Create drama. I've made some videos on the drama triangle, so if you was to maybe go and have a little look at that, you'll see exactly how that meets our needs for certainty, feeling in control, being maybe the persecutor, the blamer, the finger pointer. Most certainly give you a sense of control. Of course, it's not a long-lasting vehicle that you can use. It's not sustainable. It's good for us in the moment, but it's not always good for others, and it's not sustainable. It's not something that you can keep doing, because people will eventually get pissed off and leave you. You try and control them all the time. Having a new relationship just for stimulation, I think we know what that probably would be called. So it's not necessarily a positive one, but it can be. It sort of lingers there. It could be any of those. Excuse me. New job. Yeah, if your job where you are right now is too boring, it's too certain, you need some sort of change, maybe you're just not living up to your full potential, if you're feeling like you're growing and developing and that's no good, not good enough for you anymore, then a new job is most certainly a positive vehicle to use to meet your needs for uncertainty, and also it will also meet your needs for certainty as well, won't it? Give you a sense of stability. If you have a new job that's giving you maybe more money and more stimulating, more challenging. New location, most certainly, same again. Learn something new. Now that's a really good way of meeting your needs for uncertainty, is to challenge yourselves and learn something new. That falls into growth. So when we're learning something new and we're physically taking action to do that, it meets our needs for stimulus and change. It meets our needs for certainty. Most certainly will meet our needs for growth. So we will be growing at the same time. Bungee jumping, absolutely. It gives you a sense of uncertainty, stimulating, sort of thing that I would like to probably do a little bit more of. Love a bit of adrenaline and fear. Stimulating conversations, nothing worse than a boring conversation, is it? Because it's kind of too certain. Like a monotone conversation with not a whole lot of features added in. It's like a really boring movie that nothing happens. So stimulating conversation comes along. When you're talking about sort of unusual, out of the normal stuff, it's pretty cool. Love to have stimulating conversations with people. Never used to bother me, but it's quite important to me now, I think. Crime is most certainly meets your needs for uncertainties, isn't it? Because eventually, when you're kind of certain and even more certain, and it's never going to happen to me, I'm going to get away with it forever, and you get too certain, certainty kind of breeds complacency, doesn't it? And of course, eventually, the certainty is dished out, and the uncertainty comes along. But it is also, at the same time, most certainly exciting, I'm sure. Had a little bit of crime in my earlier days, but nothing particularly significant, like nicking out of shops and things like that. But it was most certainly exciting. Sports, yeah, good way, positive way, isn't it? Meets all the needs in a positive way, that. Exercise, another really good healthy way of meeting your needs for uncertainty. That gives you a good sense of certainty as well. Sports, exercise, all meet your needs for certainty as well. A distinction that I keep meaning to mention as well, that needs to be added, that I didn't mention on the very first video, and that is that if three needs, a minimum of the three needs are met by a behavior, by a vehicle, that's what makes it an addiction. Really bloody accurate as well. It's fascinatingly powerful, this model of understanding. We'll speak a little bit more about that in a while. Scary and new movies, okay, but we sometimes, quite often, we watch the same movies again that we've watched before, don't we? You ever wonder why we do that? Well, the answer is that you're certain that it's good, and you're hoping that you've forgotten enough so that there'll be some excitement. It's crazy, isn't it? So there's an answer behind everything of why we actually do what we do. There's nothing wrong with watching the same stuff over again. I certainly do it. There are certain movies that I have watched several times over for that very reason. And sometimes we don't think about these things, do we? Of why. We ask the question why, because I'm most certainly a why guy, and that is, I want to know why. Why are you doing that? That's interesting, because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on in the nuts and bolts of stuff. Why do we do that? Of course, there was when I first discovered, a fair few years back now, when I first discovered that there's answers for all of this crazy stuff that we just take for granted and we just do. We don't really think about why we do it. It's quite fascinating, isn't it? So that's why we do it. We're certain that it's good. Most certainly sticks out in our mind, in our memory. We get reminded of it, and we're flicking through we're flicking through Netflix or Prime or somewhere, and we find something and we go, yeah, I've seen that before, and I know that it's good. So I know that it's good. I'm certain that it's good. Have I forgotten enough that I could watch that again so that I could get some kind of drama and stimulus and change and excited feelings? Quite often, yes, that's why we'll do it. Fascinating, isn't it? Let's just go back one. So that's the end of that one. That was really, really quite quick, wasn't it? So a quick recap. So we've got certainty. All of the vehicles, if you think about all of the vehicles that we meet our needs for with certainty, a lot of them are in this list, and a lot of these ones could have been in the previous list of certainty, because we are able to meet more than just one need with a behavior, with a substance, with a action, with a fill in the blank, the vehicle. So we can have one vehicle that can meet more than just one need. So we're starting to get close to some addictions now, aren't we? Because we've only done 2 so far. We have only done certainty and uncertainty. And I do hope that you are writing these down and making notes and just acknowledging in the secret of your own home. Okay, no one's watching, no one knows. Write down if you recognize any of these that I've laid out on these slides, and ones and vehicles that are not on these slides. Write it down. Just acknowledging it, being okay with that, is all part of your personal development, all part of becoming better, because we have to acknowledge it without any shame and guilt, because they're the 2 primary. That fear, shame, and the guilt, and all of those other horrible, nasty feelings and emotions that we live with, that we avoid and we distract. So we drink alcohol and we take drugs and we control people and shout and deal with all of these circumstances and events in life that we call problems. We deal with them with very low level, easy, lazy, unproductive vehicles that we've learned. All of these have been learned, and we've discovered them along the way. And it just so works for the moment, but most of them more negative vehicles that we've listed on these 2 videos, they're okay for the moment. They work for the moment for a quick fix, but they don't work long term, do they? We're going to go through those needs, that scale of what's a good need and what's not such a good need, right at the very end, remember. So just apply it by acknowledging it and writing it down, and be okay if you get any feelings come up inside, because trust me when I say this, you're now on the journey of personal and self betterment and development. So I'll see you on the very next video, which is of course significance.